Hey, welcome to another episode of geekoutdoors.com. If you already seen the news, or maybe you haven't, there is a massive malware, ransomware, that is spreading across all around the world, and it is pretty serious. The actual ransomware itself, it is called WannaCry or Wannacrypt, and this one's pretty serious because it has affected things such as hospitals, specifically in the UK, and these are government institutions. It's actually affected the national healthcare system in the UK. But it has also affected other businesses as well in the UK and other countries, including FedEx. And it is something that has not been seen on this scale since the Code Red malware exploit that came out in 2001. So far, WannaCry has affected more than 100,000 computers in 100 countries, and it looks like it's been contained so far in terms of a massive spread. Okay, now going back to Code Red was an exploit that actually came out in 2001, and what it did was it infected over 300, almost 360,000 Windows computers. And basically what it did was it took over computers, Windows-based computers. And so that was the last major exploit on this level. And to get a better understanding of what this ransomware actually did, Gizmodo had a really good article of how this happened. And so what this did was this ransomware actually gets into the computer's networks. And then once it gets in, it automatically looks for vulnerable Windows-based machines. Okay, and then as you can see here from this news article, since yesterday, originally it affected more than 70,000, but now it's affecting more than 100,000. So it affected a dozen hospitals, telecom in Spain, Russia got hit, India got hit, a lot of places got hit. And so once it gets into the network, a person doesn't necessarily have to click on anything. It will spread itself automatically. Okay. Now, Microsoft did release a patch 2 months ago for this. However, it's primarily for their newer Windows operating systems. Okay. So it's actually a virus that targets Microsoft servers that are running the file sharing SMB or server message block protocol. Okay, so there is the actual patch ID. And the patch actually resolves a known exploit called External Blue. And External Blue was the same NSGray exploit that was part of the Code Red exploit that I talked about a little bit earlier. And so the actual group that is known to have taken this NSA grade exploit is shadow brokers. Okay, and so they use this exploit to create this WannaCry or Wannacrypt ransomware. And so what it does is it gets into a NSA exploited backdoor payload called double postar, and once it gets into the Windows machines that are not patched, it goes ahead and spreads itself automatically. So it requires no type of interaction from the user itself. And then once it gets in, it will encrypt the data, i.e. ransomware, and people have to pay a fee in order to decrypt it. Now, whether or not they will do that or whether or not they won't spread the personal information is a whole nother issue, but that is the huge problem when it comes to ransomware. There's no guarantees. And this is something that has always been a more and more concerning issue for all governments around the world. Cyber warfare is a real thing. And there's tons of things going on every day that we don't hear about until it gets on such a massive scale. And these things last for a long time. This one here, they talk about Configure, which was a huge problem more than a decade ago, but that Configure worm is still in circulation on some servers, which is really scary. And the most I would say, threatening thing to this is the fact that it affects critical items, you know, hospitals. So we talked about this quite a bit in the past, me and my brother mostly, that we are so dependent on software on the internet that, we will basically be controlled by it, and when things like this happen, and it won't be the last time, it's going to continually be a area of concern because, say for example, if you had a self-driving car, it could take over your car. That's one example. But the more serious examples, I think, are in cases like this, where it affects critical things that people need, like hospitals, or maybe it could affect places like, like your water system, or maybe air systems or lighting systems, that control your stoplights and so forth. Everything that you see in movies, it's really a possibility. Okay. Now, Microsoft has responded to this, and what they've done is they've actually released a patch for older version of Windows, which is what this ransomware really targets. So it affects Windows XP, Windows 8, and Server 2003. It's an emergency update. And this is something that Windows normally doesn't do because those are no longer supported. But since this is such a huge thing, they went ahead and released some critical updates for all these older systems. Now, Windows 10, it seems, was not even targeted, because that's a newer version and they should already have that patch. A lot of people who have Windows 10 should already have this patched. Okay. But if you are one of the people who actually has an older version of Windows, um, this here's some instructions. You can look it up yourself as well, but on Engadget, here's some instructions from Microsoft. You disable SMB. Um, Obviously, you're also going to have to download the actual patch, okay, which is right here. There's a MS1010, okay, and there's also a video right here as well. It's on Engadget's site that will show you how to do that yourself. And so, yeah, this is a pretty serious thing, and hopefully we won't see too many of these on this level, but I feel like in our day and age we will, because it's cyber warfare. So I think, like, for us being individual users, we have to stay abreast in this as much as possible. And for all the businesses and institutions out there, a lot of people would say, "Oh, this could have been prevented if they just upgraded their version of Windows." But that's not that simple. You're talking millions, probably billions of dollars if you look at the scale in order to do all of this. And it's not just the Windows machines themselves, because there's so many components when you're trying to secure data. Anybody who is in the security industry knows that security is a layered approach. Okay, so everything from your servers to the applications that you're running to the type of files that you have on your systems. There's so many components there, so it's not just a simple thing. And also at the same time, to get people um, to involve to actually monitor and take care of this and be vigilant. And all these technologies, as you know, it moves fast. And so whatever you patched just a few months ago will no longer be safe. That's why we get constant updates from vendors, and also in the open source world as well. There's always going to be patches and updates because the the criminals or the people who seek to exploit systems, they're not going to stop. Okay, and so anyway, that is my news report on this really critical ransomware, WannaCry, that has been released. If you feel that if you do have a Windows machine or you're running Windows Server or anything like that, and you feel like you have an older version and you might be affected, definitely update your system with this new patch. Okay, and so far it looks like it has been contained in terms of widespread, you know, uh, exploits, but there's not any guarantees that it will not infect your machine, especially if you're on a network that has a machine that has already been compromised. And so that is it for this episode. If you had any thoughts on this WannaCry ransomware, or any thoughts on ransomware in general or cybersecurity, be sure to leave it in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And if you wanted to support my channel further, you could do that at patreon.com/Geek Outdoors. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.